Good evening. I'm here still at Liffey Meats in Ballyjamesduff in County Cavan, and some of you may have watched my live video a couple of hours ago with Adrian, but you know, these farmers just didn't want to let myself and Deirdre go, and we've been chatting for the last couple of hours. The only really interesting thing that has happened since I was talking to you last is that it came over the radio some time ago that there's a call for the farmers to stand down their protests over the weekend, and the response from the farmers here is resolutely they will not be standing down the protests until a deal is struck with them. So I have here with me John, and John has a very interesting story. Back in 1966, there was a very major farm protest in this country where farmers from all over Ireland walked to Dublin. It was a dispute that lasted quite a while. I was a child myself, growing up on a farm in Meath at that time, and I remember neighbouring farmers being sent to jail, and that's my memories of it. So John is going to chat to me a little bit about that. John, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you very much.
John, tell me a little bit about what happened in 1966. You were in your early 20s, I believe.
I was, yeah, yes.
And you were farming?
Farming. Yeah, starting off with me mother and father and sister.
Right.
And one dairying at the time there, you know, and bad prices there that time too. Well, forgetting what we were getting for the milk, but it wasn't a patch on what we should have been getting anyway there. But we hadn't, we had no much ground to work on, you know, so we joined the other people, other farmers there, and went to Cavan, bought a tractor down here in McEwen's garage in Ballyjamesduff and headed for Cavan on a drive-by protest.
Yes.
And didn't stop there, decided to go to Dublin. So a lot of us struck out then on foot.
And now, do you mind telling me, did you walk to Dublin?
Walk to Dublin.
You walked the whole way to Dublin?
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's a good 60 or 70 mile walk,
it is,
isn't it?
yeah,
At least.
It is.
Yes.
58 miles from Cavan to Dublin.
58 miles?
At the time.
At that time.
On the roads, as it was.
And so you arrived in Dublin, and what are your memories of that time?
I arrived in Dublin in bad weather.
Yes.
Rain and maybe a bit of cold and sleet. Yeah. I think at the time they was getting on for the early winter, you know. And
my memory, now I stand corrected on this, but I think it was January. It was definitely.
It could have been.
It was in the depths of winter.
It was,
anyhow.
yeah,
yes.
Because it was very cold.
Yes.
And we had a good clothes on us, even though we're walking, we're still warm. But when you stopped that and stopped for a while there, it was bitterly cold.
So you stayed.
And that,
you stayed in Dublin a couple of days.
Stayed in Dublin on a marquee on the street like an army tent.
Yes.
On the cold footpath.
Yes.
And God, I tell you, it's something for knocking. It was very cold, so it was. But with the help of neighbours up there, it took pity on us. We got great help there from the Dublin ladies and all. Never forgot about them there, like come to us with tea and sandwiches and soup and kept us going,
Yes.
And we had a great man at the time in the IFA, or NFA, was Rickard Deasy, and then we had Mark Clinton, Minister for Agriculture in Dáil, and he was one of the best. We had to have about 12 or 13 men that came in Dáil out of a different country or farm community today.
Right.
So
So obviously the dispute was resolved to the farmers' satisfaction.
It was, yeah.
And then we fast forward now to this dispute which began at the end of July.
Correct.
Now, how would you compare the conditions for farmers now as opposed to the 1960s, the mid-1960s? I'm sure it must be a lot better for farmers now.
Well, it is slightly better, but then as the world is going, we're going up the road faster, but coming back down the other way slower, So it means that we're not that much advanced either in the economic part of the world nowadays, But things were getting a great price for milk and beef, but we're not. you know, and the cost of everything is rising, you know, so man, woman and child and mortgage on the house, which wasn't at that time, you know, is with the people now, and it is very hard to make ends meet. They're making the shots out there, and we are take them here, like, you know, and that, you know, so it's very tough to get on. So it is in this day and age. So it is, you know, like.
So that's a very valid point.
Yes.
Like back in the 1960s, because I grew up on a farm myself.
Yes.
Farming people were completely self-sufficient.
Oh, they were, yeah.
They never had
yes.
to go to town to
oh,
shop
no,
because
no.
all their food was produced on the farm. You know, the potatoes, the
yes.
vegetables, the milk, the meat.
Yeah.
Everything.
Flours, what you had to buy, the
flour for the
small
bread.
sack.
Yes, a sack of flour.
3 stone bag.
Yes.
At the time.
Yes.
£28 or that, you know, bag there and in the corner in the kitchen there, and that.
People made their own butter. And life was
homemade
simpler.
bread and all there.
Yeah.
You know, like.
So life was simpler. So what you're really saying to me now is that life has changed for a young farming couple nowadays.
That's
they have
right.
a house, a mortgage,
exactly.
and they have bills that people would
they
never
have
have
up to your neck in it there now. You know, at the deep end. You know, it's sad and tough, like, for, you know, it still is tough out there, and every man and woman is working, you know, on a second job, which is beyond reach. They shouldn't have to do it, you know, like, that's the way it's gone.
Yes, so
you know, so
that's a very interesting point. So really, what you're saying to me is that young farmers now cannot make a living on the land unless they have a job and their wife is working.
Not a whole. No, that starve to death, that they depend on the farming income, you know.
Okay, so you have been observing what has been happening here for the last couple of weeks, and I know you have very strong feelings about injunctions and things like that have happened. So tell me a little bit about it.
Well, to see what farmers was always prone to get the rough end of the stick, you know, and they used the injunctions against the farmers to put a gun to your head. You know, that was for the sake of getting meat or containers in the gateway behind us here, and get them filled up and out the gate. There went about 80 containers out from last Friday to Monday, day before yesterday, out for export, you know, far and near, you know. So they use that as a weapon against us, you know, and they can use it when they feel like it, you know. But I'll tell you one thing, last Monday week we won a case here, and of course it was a feather in everybody's cap that was here with the Gardaí trying the bestest, and of course the information I got was from down the hill here, you know, with a few phone calls, and they thought that they could beat us to it, but it ended up that we bet them, and we're proud of it, so we are.
Well, I suppose what you're talking about, and we can't say very much on camera because of the laws of defamation and everything like that, but really what you are referring to is what everybody witnessed on social media was a massive Garda presence here that surrounded the protesters and ended up arresting an elderly man.
Exactly, that shouldn't have to happen this day and age.
It was
unfortunate. How low can they get to do it like that?
Yeah.
And another man injured as well, trampled on here, like, you know, it's beyond a joke, so it is.
Yeah,
you know, so it is.
I noticed that as I was talking to the people here this evening, that they're still feeling very, very sore about what actually happened.
That's right.
Here, that evening, and it's very unfortunate.
It is.
Because, and I think it's actually an isolated incident that happened here at Liffey Meats, because as I've gone around the country to talk to farmers, they have actually been really telling me how they have been cooperating so well with the Gardaí, and that they have established a really good relationship with the Gardaí around the country. So this was really a very, very unfortunate,
extreme,
isolated incident. And I suppose really, as these talks progress, or as the dispute progresses, I suppose there is a lesson in that. What happened that evening here, it was very, very ugly. It got really out of hand.
That's right.
And we wouldn't like to see that happening around the country again. We would just like that to be one incident that it's not going to happen any place else. That's not going to happen.
No, I think I surely suppose and think not that the guards will stay at home and not appear back.
Well, I
you know, for
suppose,
the experience.
yes, but I suppose really at the end of the day, the Gardaí are there and they have to uphold, you know, the law of the land
yes.
and law and order, and they have to ensure that the that everything is peaceful.
Exactly.
And so what farmers have been saying to me is that at all times that they are being very peaceful and that they are operating within the law. So the relationship between the farmers and the Gardaí generally around the country is good.
Well, you see, the Guardian and the farmers here is okay, but from the phone calls they got that they done the extreme, which they shouldn't have done.
Yes.
But that was coming from the up the hill
Well, we
here.
won't say anything now on camera, but we can't really.
They were under pressure.
They were under pressure, and it was an unfortunate incident. It was really, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching us and listening to us this evening will have seen those videos that went out on social media.
Exactly.
And it was not nice to see what happened, and we just don't want to.
No, we
to
don't
have
want
that.
to see it again now.
So,
you know, like.
Okay, we're in day 15. It's night. You know, the sun is going down. It's September the 11th, 9/11. And another day is coming to an end. 15th day of protesting.
That's right.
How do you think this is going to be resolved?
It's going to take time and patience. I believe in time and patience. You know, I don't believe in a rush job, no matter what it is. If you're doing a job at home or that, it'll take time for the talks, you know, because there's an awful lot of talking to be done, you know, from A to Z, you know, and hopefully that the meetings will be resolved sooner than later, you know, and that we'll be guaranteed a good price for our stock across the country. Not in Duncarton, but the other counties as well, like, you know, like,
and that you'll be able to stay in business.
Exactly.
Well, John, it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there you have been listening to John, who was one of the farmers who walked to Dublin in 1966 during the last great, huge protest that took place. And he's telling me that things are worse now for young farming families setting out in life. As I said there, it's day 15 of the protests here drawing to a close, and we're no nearer to a resolution than we were 15 days ago. The farmers here are extremely united, and I've been here for hours drinking tea with them, and there's just a fantastic show of unity here. And there's young farmers, old farmers, there's men, there's women, there's children, there's teenagers, but they are all united in the belief that the dispute here at Liffey Meats is not going to be stood down until there's a resolution and a final agreement has been made. And as part of that agreement, they say that the injunctions that have been placed on farmers across the country that have been lifted, that they must actually be struck out. And that is a very, very important factor, because the fact that the injunctions are lifted means that they can be re-entered into at any time, and it's the attachments to these injunctions that is the devil in the detail. So they are saying that there will be no resolution to this dispute until those injunctions are struck out. So just to say that I ask you please to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. I need 1,000 subscribers to be able to go out live on YouTube and get out to a wider audience. The other thing is, the reason why I'm going around the country talking to farmers is that the meat factories and the meat industry and the government have very deep pockets, and they're able to buy the very best spin doctors that money can buy and get their side of the story out. And I suppose I want to be, in my small way, to be able to give farmers an opportunity to get their voice heard. But I can only do that with your help, and you can be part of this by sharing the video. And finally, I would like to say a very big thank you to Deirdre for facilitating this and for doing the cameras for me. I promised her faithfully that we were going to be back in Longford. Sorry, John, you just want to say something? Just hang on a second. you want to say something else?
Yes.
John has been called over. I don't know what he's going to say. he's been called over to deliver a message. But before you say that, John, I just want to finish off what I'm saying here. I just want to thank Deirdre sincerely for remaining on and doing the camera work with me. Now, John, please, what are you going to say to me?
We'll be staying here with the pickets until the weekend and longer. And furthermore, might add, until there's a guaranteed price in writing as well, we're not going to leave this place. And also, the trucks down at the back, there's 9 or 10, and when we are leaving, they leave, but no sooner, not a second sooner than that.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So
that's the deal with us here.
That's
and I like to stick to my word. I always stuck to my word, no matter what I'm doing on the country or that, doing a job bailing or whatever it was,
You'd stick to your word.
Yes, that's for definite.
Well, I suppose the farmers were, and there's quite a crowd here actually. There's about 50 people here. They have a big fire going. There's loads of tea, sandwiches, buns, cake, and so somebody is saying there's music. Well, music later. So a great spirit of camaraderie. They're in for the long haul, they believe, because they don't see an end to this dispute anytime soon. And the reason why they're saying that is because they've been watching the meat industry Ireland this week and their antics, and the fact that they pulled out of talks on Monday when they could have gone in and resolved this issue. And I just want to recap. I see Adrian behind the camera there nodding. I spoke to Adrian earlier on, and Adrian was adamant that this whole matter could be resolved in a matter of hours if Meat Industry Ireland came in and sat down with the farmers and brokered a deal with them. And the other thing that Adrian said in the interview that I did with him earlier on is that the farmers here, and he was speaking for the farmers here, and I'm sure we're speaking for farmers around the country, that they really lament the fact that this dispute is having an adverse knock-on effect on ordinary workers who have been laid off. This is something that they don't want to see happening, but they feel that Meat Industry Ireland is to blame for these workers being laid off, because these are the ones that are refusing to come in and enter into talks with the farmers. If they entered into talks with the farmers, this dispute could be resolved very, very quickly, and everybody will be back at work and everybody will be happy. So thank you very much for watching, and please share.